cambiado tu rostro por no sé cuántos. Yo no te he perdido, tú no me has cambiado. Yo no te he perdido, tú no me has cambiado. ¿Cuánto ha cambiado el barrio? Deberíamos borrarlo y volverlo a construir sobre la sangre de los que nos lo robaron. Ven a perderte junto a mí, a perderlo todo junto a mí. Todos mis caminos son la destrucción. Es mi excusa ante la autodestrucción. No puedo quererte si no me quiero yo. Todos mis caminos son la destrucción. He cambiado a peor, no sé. He cambiado a peor, no sé. No me perdones, vale. No quiero el perdón de nadie, el perdón de nadie. Ali, deberías cambiarlo todo. No lo hagas por ti, pero hazlo. No lo hagas por ti, pero hazlo. Hazlo por ti, hazlo por ti. Yo sé quién soy, solo sé quién fui. Yo sé quién soy, solo sé quién fui. Algo más de tu vida que aprendí en el puto infierno de Madrid. No nos queda gasolina que prender, no nos queda otra vida que gastar. Quizás sea el momento de asumir que nada va a cambiar, que nada va a cambiar. Todos los caminos son la destrucción. Es mi excusa ante la autodestrucción. No puedo quererte si no me quiero yo. Todos mis caminos son la destrucción.
You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
We're here.
Oh, yes. I am once again back on. Yes, I am once again back on the phone because my computer is still acting screwy, and there are some things that need to be done in order to share the links. I need to drop out because technology, isn't it wonderful? Welcome everybody to another episode of This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs. I'm Hobbs. He's Ben. You are in Clown World, and we just keep on trucking into the month of August. It is still white boy summer. How are we doing tonight, Ben?
You're in Morocco. White boy summer has ended.
Yeah. Well, white
Doing
boy
well.
summer might just be getting started.
I spent the day out at my local county fair working a political booth, so I got to tap into the pulse of Middle America and hear what their complaints were. Iran war not real popular.
No.
Who would have thought?
Somebody get the
of-
president on the horn, because I think that he's being told the exact opposite.
A lot of Trump supporters wonder what the heck's going on with that. I mean, I heard multiple people comment on that's going to be his legacy. So, I sure hope he knows something that we don't, and why he's done all this, because that's his legacy at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had pretty much everything spread out before us on this second term, or at least he did. He had everything spread out before him. The world was his oyster. Majority on the Supreme Court, control of the House, control of the Senate, the bully pulpit of the presidency. And for about 4 months there, it looked like things were really going to be coming up aces for the United States and its people. And then we just decided to go off and do side quests.
What I see, we're in the 5th month of a 4-week war that we won in 2 days over a weapons program that was obliterated last year.
Very, 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 very succinct way to put it. Yeah, it's not much of a grand showing, I'm afraid.
And I think this was lower on your list, but I guess I'll hop into it. About the U.S. military.
Yes.
And they have to pick between defending Israel and the United States at this point.
Yeah, that was a very interesting memo that came out of the Pentagon. If you got it and you want to pull it up, we can let people actually see that this isn't just speculation on our part. There was actually a memo that was put out by somebody in the Pentagon, and I can't pull it up and I can't read it because I'm on the phone.
The Glenn Greenwald on X, the entire U.S. national security world is entering a panic state as they realize a severe shortage of anti-missile defense systems and even some offensive weapons pose major limits on U.S. warfighting, including in Iran. Meanwhile, here's what the Pentagon is focused on. It's highlighted. A top general states he lacks sufficient naval forces to continue protecting Israel from incoming ballistic missiles. He also says he will be chosen to defend the United States homeland or Israel.
Yeah, so the fact that a top general
that he has to choose is even
yeah, the fact that a top general at the Pentagon is having a bit of a crash out over whether or not to use the United States military to defend the United States or a foreign country halfway across the earth it's something if you wrote it in a book, people wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't be able to suspend your disbelief enough.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where we are right now. It's like, oh, we're going to have to choose whether or not to defend Israel or the United States. Motherfucker, choose the United States. That's what I pay my taxes for. And
at what point does Article 5 come into this?
Article 5
start a world war, but
well, Article 5 would come into this if the United States or any involved power would invoke Article 5. But since this isn't a war, because Congress hasn't declared war, and since we are acting on behalf of Israel, who is not a NATO signatory, I don't think that Article 5 would come into it. Now, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle earlier on in the week where, of all things, some Iranian boats were attacked by Ukraine.
I was just gonna mention that actually. I was looking for the story on it.
But Ukraine is also not a NATO signatory. But maybe they're trying to coax Iran into launching a ballistic missile at like Poland or Romania or one of those other surrounding countries that is a NATO signatory and trying to kick something off bigger.
I'm trying to
But
find the story that's not paywalled so I could link it. But I mean, it was on the Caspian Sea, which Iran has access to, and also Russia, and apparently that's been where Iran's sending their oil at this point.
mm-hmm.
Into Russia, and it's going hither and yon. So I'm sure the United States asked their good buddy Ukraine to sink a couple ships for them.
And at that point, if I was the Ukrainians, I'd be like, I've kind of got something going on here.
I mean, or it was Ukrainians.
That's also very, very possibly true.
It was a detachment of who knows what from the U.S. doing it. Because
considering all. Go ahead.
I'm sure if it was known or made known that the U.S. was sinking Iranian ship or Russian ships carrying Iranian oil, it would not go over real well. About as well as letting it known that Lindsey Graham got blown up in a factory in the Ukraine. Maybe it was a little tit for tat. It's like, okay, Russia, you're going to blow up a senator? Well, we've got like a secret world war going on at this point.
Yeah, this is like the lamest and gayest world war of all time.
Well, anything involving drones makes it instantly gay.
Yeah, very.
So yeah, they sunk these ships. I haven't seen where they've sunk anymore. 12. I'm looking at the story here. I mean, Ukraine's taken out quite a few ships in the Russian Navy. These were just tankers. Apparently, they were an easy target because they were queuing up to offload, and it takes quite a while to offload, so they hit several of them. A target-rich environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that. That is what is going on with Iran at this point.
Yeah, there was talks earlier about basically putting the whole country under siege. I read a story about it. I couldn't find it again. I heard about it on Alex Jones too. But apparently, like, it's obviously nothing official, at least as far as as I read it. But they're actually considering some type of a land blockade in eastern and northeastern Iran, because that's where they're getting material support from China by rail.
I mean, am I geographically retarded at this point? Isn't that one of the largest land borders?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm shooting over to Iran real quick. I mean, that is
it's like we're
full on gay and retarded.
Yeah, we're running out of defensive missiles and offensive missiles and bombs just doing what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you expect to have some kind of a land blockade on one of the longest borders in the world through some of the most inhospitable terrain in the world, trying to block the other major superpower in our increasingly multipolar world from supplying their ally in a war of choice on our part.
It's just the border with Afghanistan. I mean, how hard can that to control the flow of materials and goods in Afghanistan? How hard can that be?
I mean, whoever came up with this idea, like, okay, let's just say some idiot at the Pentagon greenlit it and shot it up to the president, and the president said, okay, let's do this. What are you going to do? Are you going to bomb Chinese rail lines and trains on their way into Iran? You really want to stir up the hornet's nest with China when we are getting embarrassed on the world stage, not being able to handle Iran?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really want to drag China and Russia into this?
kind of feel like I need a little bit of crow too, because I made fun of Russia for not being able to just steamroll the Ukraine, and we're getting tied up with Iran at this point.
Yeah, and at this point, they're talking about the possibility of maybe a ground invasion, which, again, like you can't do it with the forces that we have and losses that the people of the United States would find acceptable, because the activities that we're doing over there right now, the people of the United States are not down with it. So if you want
to, didn't I see something too? They brokered a peace deal with Hamas.
One of many, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yesterday late, Trump announces Hamas disarmament agreement as part of Gaza peace plan.
Okay. Yeah, there's lots of plans, lots of talking, but I don't, these things in the Middle East are so fickle. They fall apart before the ink dries on the paper. So yeah, sure. Hamas disarmament as part of the Gaza peace plan. And then what? What's going to happen then? You're going to have a lot of Israeli settlers that are going to go in. They're going to try and scoop up the land. The people that are already living there are going to get pissed off. They're going to start throwing rocks until they can make bombs. They're going to start using bombs until they can get bigger bombs, and it's just going to kick right back off again.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, part of their plan ties into the Spain thing. You have Itmar Ben-Gvir. You sent this to me. My congratulations to the government of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, his profound commitment to welcoming immigration, someone who demonstrates great concern for Hamas and the residents of Gaza. I call on you to translate your words into actions. Open the doors of Spain and grant refuge to the residents of Gaza.
Yeah. So this whole what's going on in Spain, since we're going to segue over into that. Mm-hmm. So if anybody's been living under a rock and hasn't seen it, it's been just completely crowding my timeline over the past couple of days. So you have Spain, which is on the Iberian Peninsula, right there in the southwest corner of Europe, and right across the Straits of Gibraltar, which are it's that little opening that goes into the Mediterranean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean. There's a tiny, tiny piece of territory that is also owned by Spain. And it's basically just like a chunk of land with two cities called Ceuta and Melilla. And these are Spanish. This is Spanish territory. It's been Spanish territory for a very, very, very long time. And the people who live there are Spanish citizens. They've always been Spanish citizens. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if they're not Christian Europeans, they're not Muslim Europeans. And so for all intents and purposes,
also into the history, this isn't just something Spain did England owns part of Spain also. A lot of people don't realize that. England has an English enclave in Spain. These are all over the place. This isn't just some weird Spanish thing. So, all right, sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Right. So this little Spanish enclave that's on the north coast of Morocco, it's right across from the Straits of Gibraltar from Spain. And Spain basically controls the Straits of Gibraltar, and that little area there, from what I understand, is like the southern component to their control of the Straits.
And strangely enough, the north part is the part that's owned by England.
Yeah, this is geopolitics is weird sometimes.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Morocco's been saying for a long time that they want this land back. And the Spanish have been like, fuck you, no. And so yesterday, 50,000 Moroccans just spontaneously got it into their head to rush the border wall of this little Spanish enclave, and due to some very badly worded Supreme Court decision in Spain that declared that any migrants arriving by sea could not be deported immediately, these Moroccans went around the city to where the wall touches the ocean and then just swam around the wall. And because they arrived by sea, the Spanish authorities are claiming they can do nothing about it. On top of that, another bad decision is that the current socialist government of Spain is very much in favor of open borders and mass migration, and recently passed a law to put into effect the naturalization of, at first it was like 250,000 migrants living in Spain. And then that snowballed up to 400,000, and then 500,000. And then suddenly there was like 1 million that were applying for this, and the Spanish government was like, okay. So now these Moroccans are saying, like, this is our chance. If we're going to get into Europe and take advantage of free travel, this is our opportunity to do it while the socialist government is being retarded. So that's another component that's compounded on top of their bad decisions. The third component that's on top of this is that Spain recently signed an extremely lucrative oil deal with Algeria. And the Moroccans were not happy about that because they were expecting to sign this oil deal. So now that's your third layer that's on top of this. Your fourth layer to this shit cake is that the Moroccan government sees this as an opportunity to get rid of some of their less desirable people. And apparently, and this is, I don't know if I sent you the link to this or not, but it was something that I saw while I was scrolling before the show, or maybe it was in one of our group chats. But basically, interviewing some of these Moroccans that filed into the enclave, more than one admitted that this is at the behest of the Moroccan government, where they were basically told by Moroccan authorities, they pointed north and said, go that way. So you
sent me another thing here about the U.S. and Israel recognizing Morocco's control of their territories.
That's the next layer. I'm just going down the list of all the things that I know is again, the other day or recently, the United States and Thomas Massey. I couldn't find the Thomas Massey, but I did one better, where I found a memo from the president saying that the U.S. recognizes Moroccan control of that area. Like, when did that happen and why? Thomas Massey said that it was voted on.
That's not right.
Thomas Massey said that it was voted on in Congress very recently, and he was the only Republican to vote against it.
The United States, the United States has been clear. We recognize Moroccan sovereignty over Western Sahara, and we support which Western Sahara is a disputed territory at this point. Credible and realistic autonomy proposal is the only basis for a just and lasting solution. Any other path prolongs the status quo is unacceptable. This urgently needed solution not only brings peace to the region, but prosperity and greater integration for all of Africa. The dispute must end now, and the United States will continue to drive progress toward the end. Which a lot of people also don't realize, that the United States, Morocco has been one of the United States' longest allies since like 1781, maybe. The treaty, it's called like the Treaty of Peace and Friendship or something. It's one of the longest ally agreements between any two countries in the modern era.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, I mean, Spain has not been subtle about their fuck yous to Donald Trump.
Right.
I don't know if you were going to get into that at all, but
that was the next one on my list. Was going to be, Spain. Yes, Spain. The next one down is the the Spanish government right now, being socialist, is not happy with America and other so-called right-wing governments, and they have flat out forbidden use of any airfields in Spain to conduct any refueling and resupply operations for U.S. military operations in the Iran affair. and they are also boycotting. I think they're even forbidding flyover of their airspace.
Yes, they were. They would not even let us fly over it. And
Yeah,
I
so
had talked about this. That was really kind of a shitbag move for Spain to pull. Which Spain seems like such an unserious country at this point. No production, barely any military. Um, what they're not providing anything to NATO at this. They have one of the lowest military. What would you call it? The
contribution.
contributions to NATO of everybody, and they've expressed they have no interest in increasing it.
Yeah. So there's that. There's the desire to have no cooperation with the United States or Israel in regards to what's going on in the Middle East right now. The Spanish government has officially recognized the existence of a Palestinian state. So there's another one. And recently, Morocco has not regularized, but normalized relationships with Israel. So Morocco's on the Israel side. They're beefing with Spain. Spain is supporting a Palestinian state and boycotting Israel and boycotting the United States' military involvement overseas. They're a socialist government, so they're pissed off at anything they perceive to be right-wing, which is basically everything that they don't agree with in their eyes. And then you've also got some of the other things that I sent you. You have high-ranking Israeli members of parliament and government ministers and Benjamin Netanyahu's son are basically bragging that, yes, we had something to do with this. Now, if you claim that it's the Jews, that's a hideous blood libel and you're an anti-Semite. But when they do it, it's perfectly fine and it's to be expected. So in 2019, Yair Netanyahu sent out a post going, "Hey, North African Arabs, if you want to start reclaiming your old land, start here."
Yeah, I've got that one here. Which also to throw out there, they're Arab, but they're Sunni. So this could be fishing for what's going on here. Fishing for allies against a Shia Muslim country, which we all know which one that is. Let's see. That was from.
Yeah. So while you look for that.
So here's that post. Dear Arabs and Muslims, want to free occupied Arab Islamic lands? Here's a good start. It outlines all the holdings of Spain throughout the coast of Morocco.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not being won over that we should be disappointed that Spain's getting this shit taken back at this point.
Well, neither am I, but that's not where it ends, unfortunately, because Spain, being a member of the EU, is also a member of what they call the Schengen zone. And the Schengen zone is passport-free travel between countries. Now, in response to that, Italy actually floated the idea of removing Spain from the Schengen zone because they see where this is headed, with Spain naturalizing up to 1 million illegal immigrants and 50,000 more going into Spanish territory in a single day. I think that several governments of the EU, despite all of their virtue signaling, they know how this is going to end, and they're starting to panic a little bit.
Do you think Spain would do that over just saying, all right, well, here, just take it back?
Like I said, their little enclave there in Morocco is the southern component of their control of the Straits. If they lose that, they lose a decent chunk of control over the Straits of Gibraltar, which is a major trading hub. It's one of the most important trade routes in the world. And if you know what, this is something that I don't know if you follow him on Twitter or not, but there's a very famous war correspondent. He's been on Alex Jones a few times over the last couple of weeks. His name's Michael Yawn. And I've been listening to him come on Alex Jones and talk about this for about 3 years now. So this isn't something new that he's come up with. He's been laying out these plans that you've got the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran and America are now fighting over, and traffic is all but blocked there. You've got Bab al-Mandeb, which is another important strait in that area that the Iranian-backed Houthis are now causing some trouble in. You have something called the Straits of Malacca, which is over by, I think, Singapore, which is also another one of these incredibly important trade routes, that there are certain elements over there that would have no problem shutting that down. You have which strait was there's a strait that's up by I think it's like the Dutch Strait or something, that's also at risk of being closed down due to what's going on in Ukraine. It's like a North Sea strait that is close enough to Russia where they or Belarus or one of those nations around there could theoretically exert naval power over. So what we're witnessing right now is a very strategic war over incredibly important straits around the world. You take a look at another important one that has had not so much recently, but in the last few years, one of the most important trading routes in the world, the Panama Canal. We had a bit of a dust up about that recently. It hasn't been in the news often or in the last couple of years, but there was some serious consideration that the United States should take that back over because China was exerting undue influence over that. So there seems to be a low-key economic and energy war that's going on. And we talked about how this is like the lamest and gayest world war ever. Strictly from a military standpoint, that's true, but we're playing the great game now where everything is on the table. This war isn't being fought with bombs and bullets and fighter jets and aircraft carriers. This is being done by bringing entire world economies to their knees, bringing everybody to heel. Dollar hegemony around the world is looking incredibly fragile right now. The United States is being embarrassed. We went from a point of being the hard power and the soft power in the world, the unipolar world, where we basically set the tone for the entire planet. And now, because of these little adventures in places like Iran and the Middle East, we're being humbled, and other powers, or near peer adversaries like China and Russia, are seeing that and being like, maybe the United States isn't as tough as we gave them credit for.
All this could have been avoided if people just would have watched the Star Wars prequels.
Unironically, yes.
A couple comments over here. 308 supremacists. The way all these straits are being attacked, it's pretty gay coded.
Yeah, everybody's worried about the Strait of Hormuz, but who's worrying about the gay of Hormuz?
Yeah, I mean, I said that jokingly, but I mean, everybody panned George Lucas. They were like, what a stupid plot. And here it's played out perfectly.
Yeah, I brought it up before, and I don't want to be like continually name dropping Alex Jones, but there's like a 10-year-old clip of him explaining the Star Wars prequels where he lays all of that stuff out about how like all of the political intrigue and everything. He's like, it's actually a really good story. If you look past all of the like teenage angst and love story stuff, there's an incredible story in the background. And it's like, damn, dude, you're actually right. If the focus of the Star Wars prequels was just like 5 degrees one direction or the other, you would have actually got an incredible trilogy of movies based on political intrigue and economic warfare. But instead we got, I don't like sand. It's rough and coarse and gets everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, Iran attacking Iran brought all this about. I mean, if you're a little whatever country who wants to be a power on the world stage and you're by a strait, you got to be looking at what's going on with Iran and being like, well, we need to get a piece of this action.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, still not convinced that having Morocco controlling that strait is a worst case scenario than having Spain control it.
You know, now that you mentioned it, we do have that peace treaty, and I'd completely forgot about that. And I'm glad that
They've been
brought that up.
they've been a solid ally.
Yeah.
As strange as that sounds, that Morocco has been one of our best allies. You know, they've allowed us to stage out of there throughout Africa for things. I'm pretty sure we have a couple of bases there. I'm not a fan of Spain. I do not like Spain at all. Just they got a shit history in the modern era. Went all in on communism. World War II broke out. They're like, yeah, you guys do your thing over there. It's like, what the fuck, you guys?
Yeah, I made the joke in the group chat, but I'm actually like kind of serious about it. I'm betting that Francisco Franco is looking down from heaven going, put me back in, coach. There's work to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I do like how the trolling by Israel is interesting. I'm not sure what their game plan is there, unless they're just also on the hating Spain bandwagon.
Yeah, there's a one of the other tweets that I sent you was from Smotrick, and he was, or no, maybe it was either Smotrick or Yair Netanyahu said something like, "I'll make a deal if you stop funding NGOs that say that we have to give up Judea and Samaria, then we'll stop funding NGOs in your country that will try to give back Ceuta and Melilla to the Moroccans," or something along those lines. So it's like you're openly admitting now that these massive migrant waves do have something to do with the NGOs and people movers that a lot of us for a long time have been saying. Like in the United States, we have HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, which other than like Catholic Charities is the number one group that facilitated the massive migrant waves under Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. At this point, I say Morocco should just fuck around and find out what happens. Spain was kind of being hands off initially, but I saw they were getting their National Guard involved. Was that correct?
The National Guard is, to the best of my knowledge, operating somewhat independently. I have seen some videos of just regular Spanish civilians out there trying their best to just like basically beat people with sticks and get them to go away. Mm-hmm. But the Moroccans they're in the streets, they're harassing people, they're looting stores, they're breaking into people's houses, they're just tearing the place up. It's like a riot, it's like an invasion. And the thing that's probably the sickest part of it all is that the left-wing Spanish media is like making apologies for it. Like, oh, these are refugees fleeing war and poverty. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with Morocco. They're not going through a civil war. It's one of the most peaceful countries in Africa.
Very stable, actually. They've got a monarchy that's functioned very well. Constitutional monarchy. They have a monarchy and a parliament. I started looking into this once I have no idea how I didn't know that Morocco was one of our longest allies, who typically we end up fucking an ally over at some point, but we've never done that to Morocco. It's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic there. There's no civil wars. I'm not sure why they'd be fleeing Morocco unless they just want some Gibbs in Spain at this point. It's one of the most prosperous countries in Africa. I don't know. The more I'm learning about it, the more I'm like, that sounds like a better idea than Spain.
Yeah, and these guys are probably just opportunists that are trying to get into an EU territory that will. And from what I said before, the boneheaded move to naturalize 500,000 up to 1 million illegal immigrants living in Spain and give them access to Schengen migrancy is, that's probably what they want. Morocco is a decent enough country for North Africa. It's not a Central European country.
I mean,
So
dang,
that's probably
I'm
what
learning
they're.
more just during this. I mean, Morocco and the United States have a bilateral strategic defense agreements. We also train and exchange technology. I'm not sure what technology Morocco would give. I mean, we're sounding like Morocco. I'm sounding like a Morocco simp at this point. They host the largest U.S. Joint Africa Command exercise every year. Um, I don't know. I'm fuck Spain.
Yeah, it's crazy. At this point, given where they are, like territorially, it would make sense for Morocco to be part of NATO. I don't think that NATO should exist at all, but they are a North Atlantic country. It would make more sense for Morocco to join NATO than, say, Turkey. It
Mhm.
definitely makes more sense than a country like Australia or New Zealand that are in the South Pacific. But I know there's like
Yeah.
some like British Commonwealth loopholes that they jump through to be, not NATO signatories, but like NATO allied nations.
Yeah, and the Western Sahara thing, that's only recognized by a handful of countries, and I think the United States and Israel are one of them. Um, yeah, I've cemented my opinion on that one.
Yeah.
Where,
So like, well, I mean, let's just kick Spain out of NATO, let Morocco in. Spain has made their bed; they can lay in it, and or barring that, keep Spain in NATO, and then Spain can declare war on Israel and invoke Article 5.
and at that point, I'm sure our ally Morocco would be more than happy to join in on that one.
Well, no, because Morocco and Israel had normalized relations.
No, I mean we would have a strange situation of Morocco, Israel, and the United States versus Spain. I don't.
Yeah, but if
we tell the rest of NATO get involved if you want.
Spain invokes Article 5,
right?
NATO would be obligated to attack Israel.
I think kicking Spain out due to not contributing would be the right move.
Hell, kicking Spain out for just not having their shit together would be reason enough. If Italy is already calling for them to be removed from the Schengen agreement, then removing them from the entire EU, removing them from NATO, let them live with their consequences.
They've been a non-contributing factor to the continent of Europe since the 1600s, pretty much, when they blew up their economy by just importing gold as opposed to building any sort of industry. And they've just been riding on that ever since.
Well, I think that the biscuit wheels are about to fall off of that gravy train.
So, oh shit, we spent quite a bit on that one. The last one I wanted to get on, because it feels great to say I told you so, is Fauci was brought before a hearing.
Oh, rub it on my skin.
Yeah.
Yes. That right there was a classic case of schadenfreude on my part. Just hearing that little weasel up there invoke the Fifth Amendment 111 times. And for stupid shit, too. Dr. Fauci, what color is the binder sitting in front of you right now? I'm going to take the fifth on that one on advice of counsel. What color is the tie you're wearing? I'm going to take the fifth on advice of counsel. What day of the week is it? I'm going to take the fifth on advice of counsel. Rand Paul kicked his lawyer out, and it was...
Yeah, his lawyer wasn't even supposed to be there. That was fun to watch, too.
Yeah. But nothing's going to come of it, I don't think.
Did you read any of the entries in that dude's diary? What a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, he was pretty bloated on his own celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the most famous man in the world.
Name dropping in your own. I've never kept a diaries, but name dropping in his own diary. What is that about? Becoming great friends with Jake Tapper. I really like Jake. I think I was like, what in the hell is this guy doing?
Just out there just getting blowjobs from the media and just loving every second of it.
And the fact that he even kept it. Why would you? It's like he would read it at night and touch himself, remembering his glory days of.
The fact that you have this 80-year-old man keeping a diary like a teenage girl talking, oh, I saw Jake Tapper on CNN today. I hope he likes me. Check yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he put this on a government server, that's how they got it, because you have the Records Control Act where anything you put on a government server cannot be deleted by law.
I didn't know that was how they got it.
Yeah.
That is just
stupid. That's how they got it. Oh, man. They subpoenaed
1,100 pages of typed entries.
My God, this guy's so full of himself. But yeah, there were some silly questions asked just to see that if he would take the Fifth Amendment, which he absolutely did. There were some serious questions asked too about, his flip-flopping on the mask mandates, and then the foreknowledge that he had about the possibility of it coming from the Wuhan lab and not the wet market, his foreknowledge on the risks that the vaccines would have, and just everything. He pled the Fifth for all of it, but in a lot of ways, a lot of the questions that were asked of him were rhetorical questions. The senators knew the answer to them beforehand and worded them in a way that no matter what Fauci said, it would put that ear bug in people's minds that, oh shit, he knew that masks were bullcrap. Oh shit, he knew that it was a lab leak and not a spontaneous mutation due to animal interactions in an unsanitary market. Like, oh shit, he actually knew that the vaccines had a high risk of mortality for things like myocarditis, pericarditis. And in fact, one of the biggest revelations from the diary read was that Tony Fauci himself suffered a pulmonary infarction, I think. Yeah. Basically had a heart attack because of the vaccine. So at least the guy, took it. There was a lot of speculation that he was just getting a saline shot, but no, he took it, and he suffered a side effect from it and told nobody. What a weasel.
Yeah. And just the stuff that he said, like, where he said, no, I never pushed for lockdowns, and then right in his diary, it's like, I talked the state of California and New Jersey into implementing lockdowns. It's like, oh, okay.
Aren't I important? Yeah.
And you're probably right. Nothing will come from it. At least we know now why Biden gave the blanket pardon.
Yeah, he gave a blanket pardon going back to 2014. Now, my timeline might be a little bit screwy. I wasn't very good at math, but 2014 is 6 years before the COVID-19 pandemic really kicked off. So what else happened in 2014? Oh, that's right. That's when NIAID or whatever it was started giving money to Peter Daszak at the Wuhan lab. Mm-hmm. That's why the pardon went back to 2014. So not only did Anthony Fauci know the true origins of COVID-19, but President Biden and his cabinet, or whoever was running the AutoPen, also was fully aware of the lab leak origin of COVID-19, and were proactive to make sure that any of that involvement would not result in Anthony Fauci going to jail for those crimes. So one thing that I've seen floated, and I've also seen it rebutted, one way or the other, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, But because he took the pardon, he could have turned it down, but he took the pardon. This essentially makes his pleading the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination invalid. So he can basically say, like, yes, I did it. I funded because he's pardoned, because he can't self-incriminate himself for something that he's been pardoned for. So there's talk of him pleading the Fifth 111 times being used as the process to get him for contempt of Congress. And whether or not anything will come up.
A $50 misdemeanor or something, I bet.
Well, they put Roger Stone in jail for it. And he didn't contempt of Congress. He merely got a couple of details wrong in his testimony, and they did a gotcha. So really it really comes down to not necessarily whether or not Anthony Fauci could be charged with something. It comes down to how willing the Department of Justice is to push for it. And
federal misdemeanor, include a fine or a jail sentence from 1 month to 1 year.
And considering he did it 111 times, that could maybe be extrapolated out to 111 charges with contempt of Congress.
Is that how they got Stone? They did? Because how long was he in jail?
He was in jail for, I think, almost a year.
So they must have hit him with multiple charges of smaller sentences, I bet.
Yeah, and I think, and if I remember correctly, he got hit with contempt of Congress because, or he got hit with perjury because they were asking him some things and he got some details wrong. And because he got the details wrong, they claimed he was lying, and then they hit him with that. And yeah, so it's all a mess. Like I said, it's going to come down to whether or not the DOJ has the balls to actually level the charges against him. And even though it's all cut and dry, it's all there on paper, it's in his words, in his writing, in his little diary, there are still people out there who were all in on the COVIDian personality trait, who made that their entire personality that thing, that are still out there trying to defend the guy.
I want to find that podcast appearance he did where the two beta progressive dudes are just about jizzing their pants when Fauci came on. Do you remember seeing that clip?
I've seen several clips like that. You're going to have to be more specific.
Oh, I didn't know there were several. I don't know how I would find that quick, but that pretty much summed up the whole Fauci era.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's seen it. And, So they throw him in jail. I mean, the damage he did, the amount of damage he did, he would never be able to be punished enough.
Right. So they're claiming that his work saved millions and millions of lives, and it's like it would not have happened at all were it not for his work.
The damage he did to all those kids. I mean, how do you even put any sort of fucks up a whole generation of kids? How do you put a punishment on that?
You cannot quantify the damage that guy's recommendations did to children, to the elderly, to the families whose loved ones died in hospital, whether it was from COVID or from other complications, that were not allowed to see their family members cross over. There's just so much damage that it's not monetary. It's not something you could put into a spreadsheet. It's all emotional damage. It's all psychological damage. There, like you said, the kids who missed school or had to go through their developmental years with everybody in a mask where you couldn't read facial expressions, that stunted their development. You've got elderly people that were put into care homes or they were living in care homes who had COVID positive people put into the care homes next to them, who probably died because this thing was like an old people killing disease. You have all of the people who suffered from various side effects of these shots that we're still learning about to this day. Just to kind of go off on a tangent, The health minister of Germany has recently banned COVID-19 booster shots for anybody under the age of like 68 because the risk is too high for long-term physical damage. They figure, if you're 68 years
up until
old.
almost a year ago, I think people were still getting their monthly boosters. There were still people just still in on it.
Yeah, and I think that there's going to be a considerable cohort of those people that are, in the years to come are just going to drop dead from one reason or another. We talked about this a lot on this show, you, me, and Nathan, about whether or not this was like perhaps the formula changed from lot to lot and they were experimenting vaccines for various other diseases and just trying to suss out the side effects of possible diseases. And there's just so much about this that we will probably never learn ever.
And I couldn't gather from, reading summaries of his diary and parts of it, why he actually did it, aside from he just got off on the fame of it.
Yeah. And, this wasn't his first rodeo either. Anthony Fauci has worked for the government since the 1980s, and he is credited. I'm going to use that because that's the only word I can think of. But he's credited with the deaths of possibly hundreds of thousands of people with AIDS because he pushed an AIDS treatment drug called AZT back in the 80s that ended up having side effects that were so severe that they contributed to or outright killed people. They made a movie about it called The Dallas Buyers Club. The villain of that movie is Anthony Fauci. Oh, and one other little aspect that I didn't know until I heard about it on a YouTube video that I saw yesterday. Ben, do you like Queen? Bohemian Rhapsody and
great band.
Great band, yeah. Freddie Mercury died because of AZT. He had AIDS. He was taking AZT, and it killed him. The side effects got so severe that he stopped taking it, and after he stopped taking it, he was dead 2 weeks later. So I'm just, I don't want to get caught for slander or anything, but I'm going to say that Anthony Fauci killed Freddie Mercury.
And just for a little Riley Face had a comment over here on Rumble. He emailed the contents to himself so he could hand it off to his ghostwriter.
And that's how they caught it?
Great. I'm sure it sounds to me like Fauci was still high enough on his own farts that he thought we were going to be making biopics about him or something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there'll be biopics made now. They won't be the one that Fauci wanted, but.
Oh no. RFK's already wrote a book about him several years ago, talking about the AZT scandal all the way up into the COVID era. The man is literally like, when we talk about, was it Herman? No, Herman Goering was the propaganda minister for the Nazis. Who was Mengele? Josef Mengele was the doctor of death in World War II, who did all sorts of inhumane and unethical experiments on POWs and concentration camp. Like, Fauci is quite literally a modern day Mengele.
A real life supervillain. There's only a handful of people throughout history that are real life supervillains. A lot of times they're just misguided or misunderstood. Up there with like Stalin, Mengele. Yeah. You'll have Fauci in there at this point for the damage he's done.
Yeah. And we're going to be living with this for years and years and years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal. I hope something comes of it. But he's 80 and he's famous.
And he's got multiple COVID shots, so we know his time's probably limited.
Yeah, the trash will probably take itself out.
We can hope. And on that high note, we're right up on an hour.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us on this depressing episode about the ins and outs of Fauci. Oh, also, a Faucian bargain by Steve Deese. He hate mentions it in his email. Huh. A Faucian, that's good. That'll good play on words by Steve there. Thanks for joining us. Check out all our socials. Roads and number2liberty.com. You know, I was out at the fair and I wore our socialism shirt. It's probably backwards. It says socialism, the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Big hit. You can be a big hit when you go out in public too if you go to roads number2liberty.com and buy this socialism shirt or a different one. Follow us on Rumble. Somebody said in our chat on YouTube that they magically unfollowed us on Rumble. So check your follows. If you follow us on Rumble, make sure you're still following us. So when we get kicked off YouTube for talking bad about Fauci in the future, when he becomes Lord and dictator somehow, you can still follow us on YouTube. We're still on Facebook. We don't do much on there. We post randomly, but hit us there. alexjonesstore.com/R2L for, I haven't hit their store up in a while. I'm not sure what new products they have out. We get a little kickback from there, and we will be back next week, same time. And please stay.
Well,
home.
maybe not. I might not. I might not be around because there's like a demo derby in town and the kids want to go to it. So I might be at that.
Yeah, brother.
We'll play it. We'll play it by ear.
We may skip a show for a demo derby, but that's allowed. So we'll see how it plays out. See you next week and stay honky, maybe.
Oh, perfect timing too. My phone's about to